So what is version control? Version control is a practice of tracking and managing changes to software code. It is also known as source control. And version control systems are software tools that help software teams manage changes to source code over time. They keep track of every modification to the code in a special kind of database. And if a mistake is made, developers can turn back the clock and compare earlier versions of the code to help fix the mistake while minimizing disruptions to all team members. So in essence, version control is just a special kind of, okay, it's a practice for tracking and managing changes to code. So think of it this way. You're working on a Python file, right? And then you're thinking of adding a new feature to that Python file, but you fear, tampering with the code and destroying the whole code. So what do? You create, let's say, a Python file 2, for example, a second Python file, which is a copy of the first one. And then on that second Python file, you kind of like tinker with it, um, try to implement that feature, because here you can't fear breaking the code because you have a copy of it. But then with time, the more you're doing this, the more you'll have a messy file structure, because you'll have uh, over dozens of Python files, all with different features, and you're trying to learn which is which and which one works this way again. And so it's going to get confusing really easy. And it is for this reason that developers came up with version control. So version control helps you to manage different stages of your document, let's say Python file, for example. It helps you manage different stages. It helps you to like, now in that example I've given, you can create a branch which is like a copy of that Python file, but it's not a different Python file, and we're going to see how that's going to work. So it helps you manage your code in that essence. And version control systems are now the software that help you do that. And there are many version control systems. We're going to look at them, but the most popular one is Git. Again, just as I said, if a mistake is made using this version control software, you can go back to when your code was functioning before you like broke it, and then you can compare it and rectify your error. So what is Git? As I said, there are many version control systems. These are the softwares that help you in version control. Uh, there's Git, there's Subversion, there's CVS, Perforce, and ClearCase. However, Git is like the goat of these version control systems. It's the one that is most widely used by developers. This is because it's fast, it's easy to learn, it's lightweight, it's free, and open source. So what is GitHub? So to understand GitHub, just think of GitHub is first of all different from Git. Let's get that clear. They're not the same thing, although they work together. So think of GitHub as version control, but now you're doing it on the cloud. You see, with Git, you're doing it locally on your computer, but you might need to share what you've done with others. And this is where GitHub comes in. GitHub is a really useful tool for collaborating with others, showing them your code and the different stages and how you like finally came to your, what do I say, your final part of your code, or your final version of your code for that matter. So there are many cloud-based version control platforms out there, just like there are many version control systems. So there's GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. Again, GitHub is the goat of cloud-based version control, since it provides a wide range of features such as bug tracking, task management, and wikis for documentation. So we might not cover everything here, because this is a session for beginners. We're just looking at the essentials. But I'll also share resources where if you are looking to dig deeper into Git and GitHub, I believe you'll find those resources useful. Okay, so we're going to learn about, as I said, creating a repository, the README file, the how to push code to GitHub, how to pull code from GitHub, and how to work with branches and pull requests on GitHub. So these are the kind of skills, in essence, that you'll need in order to collaborate with your peers on this hackathon. And even later on, when you probably you're working on a project with someone else, or even maybe you get employed and you have to work with other developers. So this is going to be a hands-on workshop, and yeah, we can begin from here. So for a prerequisite, you'll need Git and a GitHub account. I believe I share this with the participants of the hackathon. So I'm not going to take you through the installation process. You can check that out on YouTube, but I'll just show you real quick how to download Git. You just search Git, hit downloads. It's going to be like the first link that pops in. Hit downloads, and then you select your operating system. Mine is Windows, so I'd select Windows here. If you're on Linux, you most probably have Git already. Yeah. And then for GitHub, you also need a GitHub account. Just search github.com. If I do that, it's going to take me to my GitHub feed. It's going to take me to my GitHub feed because I already have an account. But if you do not have an account, you'll see a place where it's written login stroke sign up. Just do that. Create an account. It's real easy. It's just like creating an Instagram account. Yeah. So those are the prerequisites you need before we like jump into it. So feel free to follow along. The first thing here we're going to learn is creating a repository. Think of a repository as a folder. In essence, it's just like a folder. So it's just like a folder. So yeah, we're going to create a folder on the cloud. So to do that, if you're on this page like I am, there are many ways you can create a new repository. One way of doing it is just coming here, create new, click on new repository. And let me do that. So once we are here, you'll obviously need to name your repository. I hadn't prepared for this. So actually the person who was supposed to be doing this was Cyrus, but he got caught up. So I'll just pick a random name. It suggests a random name, and I'll just pick that one. And then here you're supposed to describe your repository, right? What is this repository going to hold? Like, yeah, it's going to hold code, yes, but what is the code about, and what's the project about in essence? So in this case, I can just say this is a GitHub Essentials demo, right? It's going to be a public repository. So again, if you're participating in the hackathon, please make sure your repository is public so that your other team members can also access the repository and collaborate with you, so that the reviewers and the judges can also access the repository and, judge your project accordingly. Also, if you're creating a project and you'll need collaboration with the other developers, if you're creating an open source project for that matter, it has to be a public repository. So it says add a README file. I'll ignore that for now, but we'll come back to it. Add git ignore, again, not now. And then you just create a repository. And that's it. It's as easy as that. So now you've created a repository, or again, think of it just like a folder on GitHub. Now we are going to try and populate this folder or populate this repository with code. We are going to push code to this repository or this folder. So let me just look for some code on my my laptop. Okay. Okay. So are you able to see the rest of my laptop, or are you just seeing my browser? Can you see the file explorer?
We're just seeing your GitHub.
Okay, okay. So let me see if I can share the entire screen. Just a minute. So any questions so far up to there? Okay, so now you can see my file explorer. So we're just going to create a random folder where I'm going to write random code, and then we'll push it to GitHub. So again, GitHub Essentials. Now, assuming this is how it's going to be again when you're working on your project, you're obviously going to create a new folder for that project. And then in that new folder, you're going to create a new file, the Python file, or any other file in whatever language you choose to work with. And then you're going to commit it to GitHub. So I'll just open VS Code, and then I'll navigate to that folder I just created.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, yes, yes.
Nono kuka. Muendelea mrieno. Mnaendeleaje?
I kindly mute your mic. Okay, so that's the folder I created. I'm going to select that folder on VS Code. As you can see, the folder is empty. There's no file in that folder. I'm going to create a new file. New file. GitHub. Call it github.py. Yeah, so it's just a random Python file. Let me just write one line of code. And obviously it's going to be hello world. Yeah, so you're going to work on your Python file, whatever code you're going to write it. Cyrus told you to ensure it runs, don't just submit code, but submit code that runs. Anyway, so once we've created this Python file, now I'm going to show you how to push it to GitHub, right? And the good thing about GitHub is that it even shows you the list of commands that you need to use. So these commands are based on Git being the version control system that we discussed. And I'm just going to use the terminal that is here with VS Code because it's already in that folder that I need. You're just going to come to the terminal, and then we're going to follow this list of commands. So the first thing we're going to do is git init. So the init here stands for initialize, as you can see. And what this does, it initialize a local repository within that folder. So what this means is it just creates a local folder, a local Git folder, and within this folder, Git is going to be tracking the changes you make to the Python file. So it's going to be tracking the changes you make to the Python file, and that way you can manage your code. And that's like, essentially, that's what version control means. It's just tracking the changes you make to your software and then comparing different versions at different points in time. Yeah. So we've initialized a local repository. The next thing we're going to do, again, we're going to ignore this README for now. We're going to commit. So commit is like when you have made a change and you're ready to like get it tracked, for example, you commit it. You're committing to the change. So you just type git commit, and then you need to add a message to your git commit. So we are going to do this by typing -m, and then in speech marks, we're going to write our git commit message. So essentially, our message should be really descriptive of the changes that we've made, because when we're working with other developers and then you make a change to the code, the other developers are going to want to know what change you've made, and they're going to refer to this message. So don't just put lousy commit messages such as, made a change or updated whatever. So you're supposed to like be descriptive. A way you can think of it is by constructing a sentence saying like this commit does this, somehow like this code does this. So for example, this one prints hello world. Now this is really basic, yeah, but we'll just do that for now. Prints hello world. So it has committed it on the main branch. We're going to talk about branches later. And now we are being told that it is untracked, but it is committed. So what that means is, yes, we've committed our change, but we haven't staged it. Staging it is now, how do I explain this? Staging it is, okay, let me show you. When we now write the next, staging it is like now adding it to that Git repository. So we write git add, and then you write the name of the Python file. But in this case, I'll just put the period or the full stop, meaning this just tells Git to like add all the files. And in this case, it's just one file, that Python file. So I do that, and now it's staged. If I run git status now, again, now you see, now it says no commits. It's okay, it's fine. So on our local repository, everything is okay. We've made the changes, but then we've committed and staged it. Now let's see how we can push it to GitHub, which is now on this other side. So this is now the cloud repository. Everything on our local repository is okay, but now we need to push it to our cloud repository. How we're going to do this is just going to say git add origin, and then you're just going to copy that. Okay, before that, we need to specify that we're working on the main branch, although we are already. Let's just copy that. Now the next one is now to add it to the, when we initially just typed git add, we added it to our local repository, the one that we created by typing git init. Now, by doing this remote add, we are adding it to our remote repository, which is our cloud repository, which is this repo that we created called Legendary Waddle for some reason. It didn't give it a descriptive name. Don't be like me. Yeah. So now that we've added it, we now push it to the this cloud repository. Again, we just copy it from there. The UOrigin main just says push it from the main branch, which is like the only branch for now. Again, we look at branches later. Getting an error. So failed to push some to GitHub legendary. Why am I getting this error? Push you origin main. Just a minute. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, so I'm getting this weird error. I've never gotten it before. Just a minute while I try to figure it out.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, so I've seen the issue. I had not committed the change that I made, but I did type commit here. I don't know why it didn't work. So let me see if it will work now. If I type in git push origin main. Yeah, so now it works. The issue was I had not committed. For some reason, it had not like gotten the commit that I made. So I had to commit again. So it works. As you can see, it was pushed. And let's check the let's check here by refreshing. Let's check. Yeah, so now we can see the Python file here on GitHub. And so the easiest way now you can share this repository with your friends or with the people you're collaborating with is just by sharing this link. So if I copy this link and even paste it in the chat, you people will be able to open this repository and yeah, you'll be able to open this repository, check out the code, contribute to it if you want to. How do I share to the chat without stopping? Just a minute. So let me just share real quick and then I continue sharing. Okay. So that's the link. if you just open it, you'll be able to come here and see the same file that I just made a while ago. So I said we're going to talk about the README file. Now would be a good time to talk about it. So as you see, even GitHub is telling us to help people interested in this repository understand your project by adding a README. So a README is a file where you describe your project in detail. You describe your project in detail, like what is it about? Yeah, in detail. And for the hackathon participants, this will be like a really crucial file for you, because here is where you're going to write about your project. We'll also expect you to submit a pitch video. We'll send more details about that video, but the video will also be on the README. So in order to create a README, you can just click add a README here. It's going to come as a markdown file. Just, you know, the way a Python file has a .py extension, a markdown file has a .md extension. So markdown is just like, how do I put it? You see how like sometimes when you're typing on WhatsApp and then you need something to be on bold and then you like add 2 stars. So like that's the simplest way I can put it. Like it helps you format your text really easily. So for example, when you have this one hash, it's going to be a H1 title. So you can look into Markdown more if you're not familiar with Markdown. It's just a simple way of typing. Yeah, a simple way of formatting text. So already it's going to come with the description I added, which is okay. I can just now click commit changes to create this Markdown file. So now you see there's a new file called readme.md. Again, the MD stands for Markdown, and it's just like any other type of file, the way we have a .py standing for Python, telling the computer that this is a Python file. Now this tells the computer that this is a Markdown file, so it interprets it as a Markdown file. And this is how it's going to look. Again, edit your README to be as descriptive as possible. So the next thing we were supposed to look at is we've looked at creating a repository, the README. We've also pushed code to GitHub. I think I did that ahead of time. Now let's see how we can pull code from GitHub, right? So let's say someone else make changes to your code, and I'm going to do that by making changes on the web, but yeah, it won't reflect locally. So let me do that. While on GitHub, in any repository, you can just hit the period key or full stop to open like VS Code for the web. It's called github.dev. So if you just hit the full stop, it's going to set up a web editor. You don't need to do this. I'm just doing this to show you what happens if there's a change on the code in GitHub, but it's not like reflected on your machine, on your local machine, because now you're going to have 2 different versions of the same Python file, and this will be really tricky to manage. So you need to always ensure that you're working on the current version. So this is the Python file that we created. As you can see, we said print hello world. Let's do something else. What can we do? Create a variable 2 plus 2 and then print x. Yeah, so again, I've made changes to the Python file on GitHub, but this change is not going to reflect on my local file. So this web editor is just representing like another developer who would be making changes on your code. So I'll just commit and push. You need to enter a message. kindly mute if you're not speaking or asking a question. Commit message addition. Make sure you write descriptive commit messages, not like me again. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. So I've committed. This is now like the current version of the Python file. But if I open it on my VS Code, you see it doesn't reflect, just has the initial part pk, print hello world. So this is like, it can bring issues or errors because you might create the same variable names, but they have different values and things like that. And so to ensure that you're on the current version of the Python file or any file for that matter, you now, instead of pushing, you pull. So we did git push to push our code to GitHub. Now we're going to do git pull to pull it from GitHub. And it's just as simple as git pull. And now you see it automatically adds the changes that I made on the web. So that's how you're going to be collaborating. Yeah, now let's talk about branches and pull requests. Let me open GitHub again. Just GitHub and not github.web. Yeah, so let's talk about branches and pull requests. Again, to the example I gave earlier, you're working on this Python file. Again, we're going to take this github.py as our example. We're working on it and we want to implement a feature. Let's say we want to write a function that takes in a list and returns the mean. And we want to do this, but we're afraid of, if we tinker with this file too much, maybe we might spoil some existing code. So to avoid like touching that code, we create a branch. So a branch is like a mirror version of the Python file where you now make your changes. And then once you're satisfied with your changes and they work and there are no clashes, there are no clashes, you merge that branch to the main branch. So I don't know if you noticed when we were creating this repository or when I was pushing the code, I kept on saying origin main because we start on the main branch and then now you can create a new branch. So to create a new branch, you just come here where it's written main, click on this drop down menu. So here you'll see all the existing branches. Currently, it's only one branch and it's the main branch. So to create a new branch, you'll type the name of your new branch here. Again, I gave the example of main. So I'll just write it there. Again, your branch names should be descriptive. Don't give branch names such as branch 1, branch 2, branch 3. What does the branch do? Like what feature are you trying to implement in that branch? That should be the name of your branch. So in this case, we're doing, so since it can't find a branch called main, it's asking me to create a branch called main from main. So what this is going to do, it's going to copy or mirror like everything from main and then create a new branch where now I can make changes. I can, play with the code all I want without fearing disrupting or destroying the main branch. So for now, we are on the main branch, and for now, it says it's up to date with main because I haven't made any changes yet. So I'm just going to do this on the web again, but you can obviously do this locally, but I'm just going to do it on the web because it's quicker. I just hit like full stop the period key, and then it opens this. Yeah. So we have this github.py again. We said like we're implementing a function. that takes in a list. What should we call the list? Let's call it data. Takes in a list and then returns its mean, right? So in order to get the mean of a list, all we do is the sum of the elements of the list. So going to do sum of data, in this case, sum of data, and then we divide by the length of the elements of the list. So length of data. I think that's it, if I'm not wrong. I can test it out. So let's have a list, random list. Let's have a random list. One where we can easily deduce the mean, like 2, 3, and 4. Here we obviously know the mean is going to be 3. So let me test it out. Print get mean. And then our data in this case is the random list. Let's see how this works. Okay, I don't have a kernel now, but I think it works fine. I'll try it out on my local machine later. So anyway, the essence was like just to show you what happens when you make a change. Now I've made a change, but it's on a different branch. It's on the mean branch and not on the main branch. So again, I commit this implements mean function, commit and push. Yeah. So let's see what it tells us now on the mean branch. Okay, so we're being told that mean had a recent push less than a minute ago. Yeah, so this branch is one commit ahead of me. So this is just telling us like the changes that have occurred on the mean branch, and now like the mean branch and the main branch are no longer the same. Like they don't hazifanani, they're not the same. And so what can we do? We can compare and pull request. So what compare and pull request does, a pull request is just a message to the owner of the repository telling the owner that, hey, I've made these changes, kindly check them out. So in this case, I implemented a mean function. I can write more about my changes here, but this is a demo and I'm trying to be time conscious, so I'm avoiding. We're almost running out of time anyway. So yeah, and then you create a pull request. And then the owner of the repository is going to see this pull request, and then they're going to review your code. And if it works the way it's supposed to work, then they're going to merge the main branch with the main branch. So they're going to merge your changes. Again, the essence of branches is like we are trying as much as possible to like when we want to implement features and we don't want to break the original code. We create a new branch so that we can work on our changes on that new branch. And then once our changes are ready to ship, we merge them to the main branch again. Okay, so the owner of the repository is going to review the code, and then if they find it's okay, they're going to merge the pull request. So I'm the owner of the repository, so I'll just merge this. Then I'll confirm merge. So the pull request was successfully merged, and closed. So now we can go back to this repository and check out the branches. So we still have two branches, main and mean. It's best practice that once you're done with a branch, delete it. So in this case, once you're done with the main branch, delete it. Again, we can now check the main branch, and we see like the changes were added to the main branch. I can now also pull this to my local environment by running git pull again. So anytime that you're working, just ensure you run git pull so that you're working on the most updated version. And it gets added here. So I wanted to test to see whether this actually works. No, it doesn't. It gives me 4 and the mean is 3. Anyway, that's not the topic of discussion now. But yeah, I think I've covered everything on the agenda. So right now, if you have any questions. So with regards to the hackathon, it's the team lead who's supposed to create the repository for your project, and it's the team lead who's going to submit the link of your repository. We'll share a form where you're going to submit the link. Yeah, that's all the information for now. So if you have any questions, now will be the right time to ask them.
You've talked of essentials and you've not covered git merge and talked about conflicts.
So yeah, I've talked about merging, but like on GitHub, not using the commands. And I've also not covered conflicts. I know there are so many things I could have covered. I'll share resources with an in-depth tutorial on GitHub. I was trying to keep it as short as possible because we're running out of time. The session is ending at 8:30, and that's why I was rushing through. Any more questions? Daisy, you have anything to add? Yes, Ian?
Can you, like, maybe if you can do a demonstration on merging from a fork?
From a fork.
As in, if I
Oh,
fork
yeah,
your
yeah.
repository and I want to do a pull request.
So from a fork, okay, let me look for random code on GitHub. A great question. Okay, but if from a fork would mean like I have to fork someone else's repo, but then it will be up to them to merge, not me. So for example, I don't know if Daisy is on the call. Maybe she can merge a change I make on her repo. But essentially, or I can even do it with my own repositories. Let me just check. So, or I can even do it with this repository. Yeah, I'll just do it with this repository. So you can fork a repository. So forking a repository is creating a new repository on your account, but it copies everything on another repository. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say I'm collaborating with Daisy on a project for Hack4Climate, and everything is on Daisy's account on Daisy's repository. But I also want the flexibility to work with it on my local device. So the first thing I'd do is navigate to Daisy's account. Let me just do that. The first thing I'd do is navigate to Daisy's account. And then from there, I'd pick the repository. Let me just assume that this is it. I'll pick the repository and then I'll fork it. So I just click on fork, create a new fork. And then what it happens, you remember this interface, it's the interface we had when creating a repository. So it's creating a repository on my account, but it's like going to have everything on Daisy's repository. It's like copying Daisy's repository, but on my account. I create the fork here. Great. Now you see it's on my account, but it's forked from Daisy's from Daisy's account. So again, I can make a change. I really don't do web. Daisy is the one who knows how to center divs. I think I can add a comment though.
You should check the CSS page for that.
I don't even want
file.
to open CSS. I fear CSS. So let me just add a comment. How do you add comments on HTML even? Okay, I'll just do this. Nice. So I'll just say center div. Centered div. Because these you can delete this comment later on. That is if you even choose to merge it in the first place. So yeah, I've made a change to Daisy's code by forking her code first. So I forked it. After forking it, if you want to work with it locally, again, I'm not working with it locally. I'm working with it on the web, like Apple2 on github.dev. But if I want to work with it locally, like in my device, then after forking it, I would just clone it. And then cloning it would like now download all those files into a folder in my laptop. But for now, I'm just working with it on the web. I've made a change. I need to commit and push. Center div. Commit and push. Nice. So the code is committed and pushed, but this change is now appearing on my repository and not on Daisy's repository. In fact, before that, what I needed to have done, as I showed you, is to create another branch where I like talk about the feature that I'm going to. I create a new branch for the feature that I wanted to add. So in this case, it would have been centered div, right? So once I've created that branch, yeah, I messed. After forking, the next thing you're supposed to do is create a branch. So you're supposed to create a branch, and then once you created the branch is when now you send the div or you make the change. And then once you've made the change, you push to, you now open a pull request, but now the pull request will go to Daisy. And now it will be a request to merge the changes that you've made on your repository to Daisy's repository. I don't know if I'll explain that well, but let me just add some more changes since, oops. Let me just add some more changes since I didn't do that well. And okay, so this is just going to take a little bit of your time. We should have finished by 8:30.
Dad prepared a Kahoot to give guys credit today.
You prefer a Kahoot?
Yeah, I wanted to give us some credit.
So just a minute. Let me just show them what happens when I make the change. Okay, now I commit and push again. This now is after creating a branch. we're going to get the message telling us that this branch, yes, had recent pushes. And so we need to compare and pull request again. So I'll just say added comments and create a pull request. So I've created a pull request, but now you see I don't have the merge button the way I did last time because this code doesn't belong to me. So I just can't merge changes the way I feel like. Daisy is the one who has to review the changes I've made and merge it. I hope that answers your question. So I'll share more resources. I've actually created a whole collection on Microsoft Learn. Afanasta jaribu kusenta deals. I've created a whole what's it called? Created a whole collection on Microsoft Learn for GitHub Essentials. I'll share it with you people. Be sure to check it out. If you have any more questions, you can always ask us and we'll try our best to help you. Okay, so Daisy, you can take it away with your Kahoot to give people credit. Can I also get credit?
Yeah, of course. Just me to win the Kahoot.
All right.
Okay, so I'm also gonna mention organizations. I think I'll take like 5 minutes.
Sure.
Organization is how you're gonna submit your code to us. Yeah, so I will share my screen. Do we start with the Kahoot or the GitHub organizations?
Do the organization real quick because we're still in the mood of learning.
Okay.
And then we end with the Kahoot. Yeah.
Okay, can someone confirm they can see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this is very important, especially for the group leaders. So I hope all of you are listening to me. So on your GitHub, now for the group leader, you go to your profile right here. You click on it. Then over here, you'll see your organization. So you click on your organizations. So you see, I have like a couple of organizations. So you create a new one for now your team. Then you pick, of course, the free plan, unless you have money in this economy. But yeah, pick the free plan. Then organization name will be your team name. So mine, let's say it's Hack4Climate. Yeah. Then my email. Then you can just do my personal account. Then verify. Sorry. You guys can still see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So you've now created your organization. So once you've created the organization, now you add your members. So you can add them by their email addresses. For example, if you want to add Greg, I type his email. Then it will go to Greg's account. Then his email, he will get a notification. Then he can join my organization. Okay. So there you have your organization right there. So the way you use this organization is the same way you use your GitHub, your personal account. So you go to repositories, you create a new repository, and that is where you will keep all your files. So when you're submitting your project, we will need you to submit your organization. Yeah, the link to your organization. You navigate through it, you find your repository, and of course it has to have a README file so that you can follow what you were doing. And then, yeah, that's it. So I hope group leaders wamesikia, because it will be your job to create the organization and making sure your entire team joins in the organization. So on to an exciting part of this session, the Kahoot. Can someone confirm they're seeing my screen?
Yes, I can.
So you guys just log into go to a new browser page. Yes, and then just type in kahoot.io.
Yeah. Is it .io or .it?
Oh, IT, yeah, Kahoot, just like this, kahoot.it. You type that.
Yeah, in fact, it would be ideal if you've joined this meeting with your laptop, it would be ideal to join the Kahoot with your phone.
Yeah, with
However,
your phone.
yeah, but you can also do it by opening a new tab.
Yeah. So if you just press kahoot.it, you're supposed to come to this interface page. Then up at the game pin here, you'll type in this code. Sorry, let me share the code with you guys. So sorry, it's taking a long time. Do you guys have any questions on what was covered today? Yeah, so here's the game pin. 5736465. There's Jeff, Ironman, Luis, there's Tim. Okay, our player limit imefika. So the first 20 people lucky enough to play the game. So we shall start. You read the question and you answer it as fast as you can, okay? What was the name of today's instructor?
If anyone fails this one,
We'll take it to heart.
I'll take it personally.
Someone did.
How many? 1, 2, 4 people.
Okay,
I'm hurt.
the name of today's instructor was Craig, and he introduced himself when he started the session. So let us go. Yeah, so who's in first position? Nova. Okay. Do you want to find out nani ajui nani alikuwa the instructor leo?
I don't even want to see.
Okay, let's
Itakuwa
go to
bias.
number 2.
Someone is talking about the time limit. The faster you answer the question, like the higher your points.
Yeah.
In fact, if it were
Someone
me, I
said
would have put
true.
one person.
So
So
Git
Git
and
and
GitHub are not the same thing.
Yeah, go on.
Git and GitHub aren't the same thing, and Greg did mention this during his session. Git is the bit that now tracks your code, and GitHub is the software platform for which you interact with Git. So, okay, Nova is still in the lead. Apata, you can go Google by the time
Babe,
unarudi
I
swali
can't see the
lishaisha.
questions, just the shapes. I'm flying blind.
You just use elimination.
Okay, so 8 guys got it right. Oh, guys, Bill Gates is not the CEO of Microsoft. It's Satya Nadella. Yeah.
Bill Gates was the founder.
Yeah, but he's not the current sitting CEO.
Yeah.
This is the founder, yeah. Okay, Nova, you've been knocked from first position. What wasn't covered in today's session? GitHub Pages. So GitHub Pages wasn't covered in today's session, but Greg did talk about Git and version control, Git branching, and README files. Okay. Nova, you're not reclaiming your spot back, which is not a feature in the GitHub Students pack. This one you're flying blind. I know. Can you guys see the question?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, yeah. So Heroku is a feature in the GitHub Students Pack. You can host your applications on Heroku and the GitHub Students Pack for free. Then Microsoft Azure, of course, and Front-End Masters. I misspelled that here, but Kahoot is not part of the pack. Okay, we have the same people in top 5, but they're changing positions. And OG has the highest answer streak. Okay, let's continue. It is possible to host true or false. Okay, yeah, true. You can host your web pages on GitHub Pages. And for the teams that will have like a website as part of their solution, you can host your website on GitHub Pages. It is free. I have someone in the lead, a new person. Let's continue. Who made a contribution to the first programming language? Yes, Charles Babbage, the father of computing, and Ada Lovelace. So, Steve Jobs, really? Steve Jobs wasn't it. It's Charles and Ada.
Fun fact, I share a birthday with Ada Lovelace.
Oh, I hope you should be like upper top 5 now that you know that fun fact.
I am.
For real? You're OG.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So we have team in the lead now. Which technology isn't a requirement for this hackathon? Okay, 16 answers and there are 20 players. Okay, artificial intelligence, yeah, it's not a requirement, but version control is because you have GitHub, because each team must use GitHub cloud computing as well because of Azure. Data science, because it's the data science hackathon. So AI is not a requirement, but if your team opts to use it, that's okay. Oh, Greg is in the lead. Last 2 questions. You can redeem yourselves. Which isn't a training session you have during the week? Yeah, climate action. We have a session on data science, Azure, and Postman, but you don't have one on climate action. Yeah. So the 5th person has been knocked out of the top 5. Okay, so the last question. What is the name of a collection of code files on GitHub? Repository. One person failed it. Okay, so Greg, our winner, Tunagawa, your credits. Yeah, but this was fun and interactive. I hope you guys had fun during this Kahoot. So one thing I'm gonna mention in literally 1 minute is the GitHub Students Pack. So you just education.github.com/pack. You sign up for the student pack. So may I have already, so I'll just sign in and we'll go through some of the benefits. Then we're done for the day. Yeah, we've gone 20 minutes past the time.
Yeah, so since like I'm an organizer, I'll just pass the credit to the second place. So Nova can have my credit.
Hey, Nova, you'll reach out to us. Now put in an ID. We want to see that Nova is
Yes.
actually Nova.
Yes. Identify yourself, take a screenshot if you can.
Yeah, so here's the pack. It's called a student developer pack. So it has like a lot. If you're a student, kindly sign up for this. My internet today is down. Okay, I don't know why it's taking long to load. I've posted the link on the chat. You guys can check that out. So yeah, that is it for today. I have nothing else to say. So Greg, unless you have something.
Nothing on my end.
Okay, so see you guys tomorrow. If you have questions about GitHub, feel free to text us on WhatsApp in the group or side chat us. For the group leaders, kindly text me. Yeah, with your team names. Na kuna mbili hapo zinafanana, but I will not mention yakina nani their team names zinafanana. But yeah, text me group leaders. Good night, guys.
Thanks for joining. Goodbye.